You've probably got two questions. One, is the title clickbait? No. Two, look, I am wearing Christmas pajamas. Yes, look, it's less than a month till Christmas. I wasn't meant to be recording right now. It's the 25th of January. I was getting ready for bed, playing some Football Manager. This happened. Burnley, £10 million offer for Andy White. I renegotiated it to have 50% of any sale. That's not profit. Anything he moves for, we get 50% of it. Part of me hopes that is me buying him back and then getting half the money I pay for him back off them. We have him back on loan to the end of the year, and all the money's up front. I might live to regret this transfer forever, but off the back of the end of last episode where we realised we're basically going to be bankrupt very quickly unless I recoup some money, I can't turn down £10 million. At the current rate we're going this season, our youth setup is going to cost £3 million to maintain. That is money that a team ordinarily at this level doesn't have. In fact, you can see since July, we've lost about £1.65 million. Andy is basically funding the academy for the next 3 years with this sale. I feel like I'm going to regret it, but I have to accept. Every player has their price. And Andy's price has been matched there. Look, he goes to Burnley. We get him back on loan. In an ideal world, I loan him back for like 5 years in a row and then sign him back permanently. You know, Football Manager's AI is sometimes weird. I have a sneaking suspicion that won't be the case here. This guy is the real deal. There were so many big teams interested. Was a little taken aback by the fact that Burnley were willing to spend that money on him. You can see in the Premier League, they actually stayed up last year. They're currently in 15th. And kind of my mindset is, they're a lower-end Premier League team. There's probably a better chance I can sign him back off Burnley in a few years versus, say, if one of the massive teams came in. Instantly, he's become their hot prospect, and instantly he's valued at 14.5 to 17.5 million. That'll be due to the contract he signed with them and the reputation of Burnley. Obviously, I only got £10 million for him. But at least the balance looks healthier. I have a ridiculous amount of transfer budget that, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to need to spend. The only down note here is he now has a blue name. He's not my player anymore, and I do feel sad. At the same time, I played Football Manager for 20 years. I don't think I've ever sold a player in League 2 for 10 million. He's probably absolutely insane, and I'm going to spend the rest of this series trying to sign him back. Yeah, I don't know how to feel. Anyway, in-game, it's only now the 25th of January. Today, I'm coming back for the youth intake, which is in March. That's a little way away. I've got a lot of games between then and now. Our form's not been perfect lately either. This is all spoilers for later. I'm going to run the intro, go sleep. You'll see me not in pyjamas shortly. Let's hope that we have a new Andy White in the intake or something. I miss him already. I hope. Would you have sold him? Let me know down below. Comment question of the day. Andy White. Have I made a mistake? I don't know. Intro. Editing Jack, put it in. I'm lost for words. How is it going, you lovely lot? Welcome back to episode number 21 of Park to Prem. What you just saw, not a fever dream, very much real. Andy White. No longer our player. The 17-year-old has been absolutely phenomenal. To be fair, since his sale in January, I've actually been phasing him out the first team a little bit. Just 2 goals in 6 games. Some good news, though. He was the only sale I had to make. Ajaria and Aaron Allen also had a hell of a lot of interest in them. In Ajaria's case... look, we might have a similar problem come the summer. His value currently £1 to £3.8 million. Crazy how much our player values have gone up this year. Of course, these younger players did sign new deals over the previous summer. On top of that, I think just a rise in reputation with them playing at a high level. And with us, spoilers, securing promotion. Yes, that is right. League 2 promotion has been confirmed. We're on 97 points with 39 games played. We're still unbeaten with 7 games left. I would love to go the whole season unbeaten. It'd be such a good achievement. Today, by the way, we do have a chance to secure the title against Bradford. They're down in 21st. We play them at home. That's one reason why I'm back. The other reason is it's the 14th of March in game, and I've had my youth intake. Now, steady your expectations a little bit. It's not quite as it has been the last couple of years, but there is some good players here. listed as elite prospects. The first of which is Gavin Wallace. He is a left wing back, apparently. He's a left wing back with 5 marking and 8 positioning and 6 tackling. I don't really love that from a wing back. What I will say is his physicals are really, really good. Good dribbling, good first touch, good crossing. Part of me feels like he's probably better suited to play as a winger, but at the same time, I don't play with wingers. Part of me wonders, maybe centre attacking mid? I think he's the kind of player who, to begin with, I train him just to play as a regular no-nonsense defender, try and maximise focus on his core technicals that he's lacking defensively. If they develop, great, he'll be a wing-back. We'll give him a couple of years. If they're not developing, probably have to look to move him higher up the pitch. Also, while we're here, probably should give him a contract offer. I like to try and lock these players into long-term deals if we can. Tell you what, he's not asking for the smallest amount of wages. Very unlikely he's going to be playing 10 league games for us anytime soon. Going to offer a contract extension after promotion. Just get it all locked in. The other player we've got, interestingly enough, is a left winger who can also play centre attacking mid. We have here Kevin Beresford. Good player. Not a great player, has really, really good consistency. Obviously, good potential is always a positive sign. What I will say is he's very, very well-rounded. Don't like his physicals a great deal, but he could be a good player. He is pretty good with either foot. And similarly, probably should just get him locked into a contract, shouldn't I? Now, behind those 2 players, there are some other talented players here, like Axel Durant, who could be useful. Again, a winger when I don't play with wingers. There is a reason for that. And it's down to David Jupp here. Yeah, if you didn't know, the players you get in your intake are actually positionally influenced by the preferred formation of your head of youth development. David is absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I could find a better head of youth development if I wanted to. He's actually improved a lot over recent years when it comes to his actual attributes. Just a shame about his preferred formation, really. Speaking of staff, by the way, I have taken it upon myself with some of that money that we received from the £10 million sale to go out there and add some new staff members. We've got a lot more staff people amongst our ranks. I'm now looking here to see if there's any great head of youth developments. Patrick Clivert would be available. He also plays a 4-2-3-1, and Rudkin here plays a 4-4-2. I mean, both people with very, very good attributes. Neither really solved the problem I need to address. But yeah, you can see here an overview of the staff. We've now got 5 scouts, 7 coaches. We're filling up a lot of the vacant roles, including we have a director of football in Ed here. He was a chief scout at Oxford. He's only 29 years old. I'm hoping he develops a bit with the club. I find that having a director of football can be kind of useful, but often they're one of the most expensive roles. He was quite cheap and one of the better ones I could get, so welcome Ed. Addons is also an interesting prospect from the intake, a goalkeeper. Has some potential. I feel like a lot of these players have potential. The question mark really is, how good is 5-star potential relative to our team? Of course, stars are all relative. And I think because of the high potential of some of our best young players, I'm looking at Andy White, Allen and Ajaria, it does mean that the general ratings of the team aren't so good. If we look at someone like Aaron Allen, you can see here, his potential could improve a lot. That usually is in the ballpark of Premier League level. Sometimes it can be a little bit above that, but it does mean that all the current ability stars are relative to 5-star ability being a Premier League player. So if you're wondering why we have really low star ratings, it's not that our team's bad, it's just they're not Premier League good. The relative stars kind of mess up the team. Anyway, I'm going to offer contracts to some of these players off camera. It's the least interesting bit, isn't it? Signing youth players. It's hard to mess it up. But I did mention last episode that rather than do 2 games for the sake of it, it might be quite nice just to have a little bit of a look at the academy and how it's getting on this year. So just as a little bit of a reminder, I talked about it at the end of last episode, we are losing about £3 million a year just on the academy. You can see we got that £9.7 million through the sale of Andy White. We've lost about £600,000 since January. It's only, well, it's less than 2 months later. And the reason for that is if we just look at expenditure. Last year, our youth setup cost us £900,000. We upgraded it in the off-season. So far this year, it's cost me £2.6 million. Which is kind of forcing me into this situation where I'm fully aware for our level we have mad youth recruitment, youth facilities. Of course, a lot of that was investment of FA Cup money. But because it's costing me £3 million a year, there is going to be that pressure to keep a constant conveyor belt of talent going if we want to maintain it at this level. And believe me when I say I do want to maintain it at this level, our under-21s actually play in the Premier League too. When you look at the teams we're competing against, we're in a kind of a league that's way better than kind of what you'd associate us being with. There's a couple of championship teams in here, but for the most part, it's full of some very stacked teams. And despite that, we're not looking completely outclassed. In fact, Lewis Meek is the top goal scorer in this competition. The 17-year-old, great little player, has been developing quite a lot. And I feel like for players like Lewis Meek, the fact that he's 17, so I play him in the under-21s and our under-18s when their games don't overlap, really enables him to maximise his development. His balance has gone up by 4, strength's gone up by 3, stamina by 2, dribbling by 2. Yeah, I feel like this level that our youth team plays at is a really good platform for players like Lewis to develop. As for our under-18s, I'll be honest, a lot of the best 18-year-old and younger players that we get, I just promote to the under-21, so they kind of play in that competition by priority. The fixtures do tend to overlap. It means that when you look at our under-18 squad and the teams they're surrounded by, it really doesn't look very impressive compared to the under-21s. Now, there is a couple of players in our youth team that the staff actually think I could promote to the first team if I wanted to. There's almost a temptation with promotion to League One Secure to just play these players a lot more to end the year. I may well end up doing it. 5 players here considered a cut above the rest. The one of them, in Niall Townsend, is actually listed as our hot prospect right now. Sadly, though, he's injured with a broken arm for up to 2 months, which really, really sucks because the 17-year-old had been developing quite nicely, had been umming and ahhing about what to do with him. You might remember we discussed him actually, I think, last year, and I was concerned that he only had 3 vision. That vision has gone up by 1. Obviously, as a centre attacking mid, I am going to need it to be that little bit better. Few people discussed the idea of maybe training him to play wing-back, and whilst that could be an option, I feel like for the immediate future, I would like that vision to be better regardless of what we're doing with him. For now, rather than train him in a new position that's going to lower his overall ability, I'd rather train him at centre attacking mid, see if he can make it and improve his vision, which has improved a little bit. If it doesn't work out, I feel like it wouldn't be too late to train him to play a wing-back role later. Naturally, a little bit concerned about his defensive inability, marking, positioning, tackling. Not necessarily the best, but you know what, for now, prior to his injury, had been developing very nicely. John Murray played a handful of games for us last year. We have a load of young talent in the pipeline. One position where we don't really have it is at the back, especially at centre-back. John Murray, across the last 3 years, has been the best player we've had in that position. 197 centimetres tall. He is an absolute mountain of a man, the 18-year-old. Bit of a shame he's only got 8 heading, but his bravery and aggression makes him a pretty good fit. If we just look at his development over the course of his time at the club, you can see good improvement across the board. Of course, this is down to the youth facilities, it's down to the under-21s playing at a really good level. And it does mean that for players like John, even though he's not featuring in our first team, he's developing at a really solid rate. In terms of his training, I'm actually training him to play as a libero with a focus on quickness. The reason for training him as a libero, as you can kind of see here, is he's actually a very well-rounded player. Right now, his dribbling, first touch, technique, all at 8. That sounds low, but if we train him as a libero, give him a few years in this area of the kind of focus, there's a reality where all of those hit double figures. And with that in mind, suddenly, he could be quite a good ball-playing defender, which, of course, in our system, where we play with 2 ball-playing defenders, that would be quite nice. Bob Davis, I like. I'm a little bit concerned about his physicals. The 18-year-old, very, very consistent player, came through our first year of kind of intake. You can see here I'm training him to play as a roaming playmaker with a focus on quickness to try and address his physicals. I don't think I've changed his training schedule since he joined the club. For the most part, though, you can see his physicals have actually climbed a fair amount, which is good to see. Mentals have improved as well. Technically, slightly less impressive. Little bit concerned that he'll never be good enough for the first team, but given his potential, I want to persist with him. Has provisionally agreed to sign a new contract at the end of the year. For anyone who was panicking, thinking, oh my God, Jack, wake up, his contract's up in 3 months. Don't worry, everything's fine. Tom Reeves is a right back who's been getting a lot of assists at youth level. 10 assists, 3 goals, a right wing back who I need to get better defensively. Currently, I'm training him to play as a wing-back on defend. At one point, I was training him just to play as a no-nonsense fullback to just try and maximise focus into these technicals here. I feel like he's never going to be a particularly technically gifted player, but obviously technicals in the defensive department would be rather desirable. His physicals, though, make him a great player to get up and down the pitch. I do actually question if maybe he could do a job at right-back for us. Maybe next year as the backup. If we compare him with Egbo, you can kind of see the dilemma. He's really good and quick. He lacks in just about everything else. And also, you might have spotted here, he's currently injured for up to 4 weeks. Yeah, a lot of our youth players have been getting injured lately. And the last of these 5 first-team candidate youth players is Jake White. I actually quite like the look of this guy. He's been capped at under 19 level for England, which somewhat shocked me. I feel like compared to some of the other centre-attacking mid prospects we have out there, he's maybe not quite as good, but his technicals are okay. His physicals, though, are pretty standout for his age at this level. He's only just turned 18, so loads of time for him still to develop. Obviously, a bit of a question mark over his consistency. With these players, there are a few of them where I look at their valuation and I do think, I don't know if they're going to develop for me. Maybe they could develop for someone else. But if I could cash in on them, maybe I should. Now, just to look at the England youth team setup, because I feel like this could be a bit of an indicator as to where we're at. We currently have no players in the under-18s. There is a couple of players here that I am keeping an eye on. James Burgess plays for Notts County, 18 years old. He looks really, really good. Of course, I've got a fair amount of transfer budget, and whilst I don't think I'm going to be spaffing £8 million on anyone willy-nilly, someone like James Burgess here could be a fairly sensible pickup, signing some good young English players that maybe have some potential, given obviously our transfer restrictions seem sensible. John Patterson here is also contracted to Wigan. Again, a player who looks like he could be pretty good longer term, good ambitious personality, good determination. I'm wondering, he plays in League One, he's not going to want to talk to me right now, but I feel like players like this I should have on my radar. But yes, just to circle back to my original point, if we look at players at youth level, you can see here James White was recently in the England under-19s. In the England under-20s, do we have players? No. That's annoying. Do we have anyone in the England under-21s? Also, no. Okay, well, you know what? The whole point I was going to make is made null and void then, isn't it? All I was really going to do is big up the fact that Ajari has been playing at youth level this year. Andy White has also been playing at under-20 level this year, although he's not our player anymore. And Aaron Allen, you might remember him? Yeah, he declared for Ireland under-21s. He's now decided he's English. Declan Rice, eat your heart out. Across the whole under-21 setup, though, there are some players with some really good potential here that I'm looking to continue to develop. Of players that were in last year's intake, Ryan Smith here, the striker Ryan Smith, might be one of the better players. I really, really like the look of this guy. I love his speed. I love his physicals. I just need him to improve as a kind of technical player and a mental player. And when you look at it, it's not really happened so far. I feel like I should probably give him time. The bloke's 16. And also, if we sort by valuation, I mentioned the option of maybe looking to sell on some of these players. That's definitely something that's going to weigh on my mind. Do you think as we climb up through the Football League, that might just become a slightly more viable strategy? At the moment, these valuations, I feel like are a little on the low side, but maybe that's just my own bias speaking. Anyway, that's a little bit of a youth setup overview. Like I said, today we're going to be taking on Bradford with a chance of winning the title. In terms of games since you were last here, because we lost at Ipswich, I then had the EFL Trophy South third round. This game was back in January. It was the last cup competition we were still in. We lost on penalties. They scored in the 98th minute. It went to the shootout. Andy White missed a penalty. To be fair, so did Joe Geldhart, but we're not going to mention that. Andy White missed a penalty. I think it was that penalty he missed that made me sell him because I just thought he had a bottle of DNA. So from there, we're full focus on the league. We've played 9 games. We got off to a flyover win against Northampton. Draws against Carlisle and Tranmere are a bit frustrating, although they are 2 of the better teams in the league. They are right up there, or at least they were back then. From there, though, some nice wins. 2-0 against Morecambe. Then, obviously, from February onwards, Andy White has been a loan-in player. As a result of that, I've been playing Ashley Fletcher more and more. He's actually played really well this year. 13 goals, 4 assists. For your backup striker, it's not bad. And thanks to his goals and, many other contributors, we've gone on this great winning run. Of all these results, there is one standout game. This one against Gillingham. Aaron Allen at left-back got a hat-trick. Not very often your left-back gets a hat-trick, so I feel like we should probably watch them. First goal here, from range, bish, bash, deflection, bosh. It was a good goal. Goal number 2, have you seen this movie before? Build up down the right-hand side, whip back post, Aaron Allen was there. Having got 2 goals in the 20th minute, I did think, well, is he going to get the hat-trick? The answer was, he absolutely would. Ajaria puts it on a plate for him he couldn't miss. And from there, the goals have continued to flow. Of course, 4-2 against Swindon, a good little result there. Comfortable, although 4-2 makes it look a little closer than perhaps it was. And then 3 clean sheets in a row. 2-0 against Stevenage, 1-0 against AFC Wimbledon, Loudon. Thank you, Andy White, for the last-minute goal. I have been dropping him in and out the team. To be fair, there's some times where you just need to rely on the best player in your team. He scored for us there. And after that, most recently, we took on Stockport. Remember at the start of the season where they were one of the best squads? Well, they didn't really look like it in this game. We won 3-0. To be fair, that scoreline kind of flatters us, but we were very clinical in front of goal. And it puts us in a position where today we could end up on, 100 points. 29 wins, 10 draws, 0 losses. Is pretty impressive. Today's opposition standing in our way is Bradford. If we beat them, we will get to hoist a trophy on camera and we can all be happy. And well, that is going to be the mission for today. I mentioned the fact I've been dropping Andy White more and more. He's actually only started 3 games of our last, I think, 7. I'm actually going to drop him again here and bring in, I think, Ashley Fletcher. It's interesting, actually, when you look at goal scorers this year, Andy White's goals have obviously been reset since he's now back on loan at the club. But you look at Ashley Fletcher, you look at Voltman, 2 players who I kind of brought in just to be depth players. They've both ended up in double figures for goals this year. They have been very, very important to just scraping out results. And in fact, when you just look at appearances across the team, every single player in the squad has started at least 1 game. And to be fair, when you look at things here, from Jackson, who's behind my face, onwards, 19 players this season have started double-figure games. Definitely has been a squad game this year. In terms of the squad for this match, this is pretty much as full strength as we can get, obviously, with the exception of Andy White. If you're wondering how Geldhard's got on since he joined us as our, most expensive player, 6 goals, 3 assists in 13 games, doesn't actually have the best average rating, but he has been good for us. Irrespective of whether or not we secure the title with this game here, my plan after this game is to hop forward to the end of season and do all the end of season speedy bit, so tomorrow there's a transfer special. 15 minutes into this game, not a classic, there's not been a shot, but maybe that can change here, or to JB. Back to Kingdon now. Around the back, we move it. It's really great to see, actually, how many of the players we had in the National League have stepped up this year, alongside so many new faces in our ranks. You might also spot in the bottom here, Ajari is wearing the captain's armband. Oh, I was looking down at the bottom. What just happened? I was just going to talk about the fact that Andy White leaving meant the vice-captain spot was open, so I gave it to Ajaria. What has Sharman Lowe done here? Kingdon. Well, that is suboptimal. Did you notice there? My immediate instinct was to try and blame it on the goalkeeper. I think that might be reflective of how I feel about Sharman Lowe. He's not been the goalkeeper I thought and hoped he would be this year. It's going to be very awkward if I come back for this Bradford game and we don't secure the title with it. I'm not doing the next game. The title's going to be secured. I mean, to be fair, it could still be secured, I believe, if Carlisle lose. Annoyingly, right now, they're taking on Stockport and winning 1-0, so that kind of ruins that angle. And Bradford are through again. Bradford, have you not got the memo? They're in 21st. Can they leave me alone? Half-time, 1-0. I'll be honest, it's been bloody awful. Perhaps the worst game of the season so far. Joe Taylor on a booking, right? Okay, Andy. I'll bring on Andy. I mean, in a dream world, right, I can loan Andy White for next year as well. You know, I just want to keep renewing his loan. I feel like Burnley probably aren't going to let me do that, though. I could try and lie to you and say this game's been a classic. I'll be level with you. It's been absolutely bloody dreadful. I've tried to change things up with fresh legs in the final third. Nothing has happened, and suddenly there's 25 minutes left. I don't want to lose our unbeaten season. Okay, it's time to shuffle the deck a little. Look at this. This is fun. We can just shuffle our team around and play a 4-2-2-2. I mentioned at the start of the year, didn't I? Or a long, long time ago, this idea that maybe, just maybe, I should set up a preset tactic like this. Because I feel like this is my default shape to revert to. I've still not done it. I'll get round to it eventually. Okay, Matos is going to play as a Segundo Volante, or he's going to become the stay-at-back player. JB and Fletcher are looking a little worse for wear here. Callum Hume on you come to play centre attack in mid. Don't really have an alternative to Fletcher on the bench, I realise now. So he's going to have to stay on. You know what? We'll go with that for now. This feels good to me. Maybe you should update the instructions, mind you. Focus the play through the middle. Focus our play very, very narrow. And let's not run at the defence. I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of space for our players to run into here. We're trying to congest the middle of the pitch. Okay, well, I've made the tactical change and we've had a shot, so I guess that's good. It's time to demand more. They've gone to a 5 at the back. You rats! Going to be difficult to break them down, but we're going to try and do it here as well. A highlight begins and we give the ball straight to Spratt. And now, well, we could be left a little open. Of course, we're neglecting and leaving our 3 at the back system in pursuit of goals. Going to a back 4. It's going to leave us a little more open than perhaps I'm used to. Then again, our defence is full of some very quality players. I am going to be looking at our wing-backs to try and make a difference here in those wider areas. Kingdon to Orr, who stepped up into midfield. He's trying to play a defence-splitting pass. It's deflected to Fletcher, and their centre-back looks like a moron. In fact, I think it's their left-back. If we score from here, he deserves all the blame. Cross goes over everyone, but it's not away from danger. Bradford on the back foot for what feels like the first time all game. Or wide, Ajaria, space inside, should cross, does cross. Voltman scores his 12th of the year, and he's come on off the bench, and he's made the impact again. At the start of the year, I labelled Max Voltman as this potential super sub option. He has been Mr. Super Sub, it feels like, this year. The amount of games where I've brought him on and he's made a difference is hard to keep track of. He scores another here. The unbeaten dream is alive. And now there's a kickoff highlight. I mean, if they now go up and score, that's going to be really annoying. But I feel like now we need to press home our advantage. We've changed things up. They've reverted to a back three. They are kind of turtling up, I feel like, trying to just secure any result they can. And it's leaving them open at the back. Fletcher picks out the goal scorer, Voltman. Loads of space in front of him. AA now with it. Can't get past his man, but we have got a lot of players forward here trying to press high and hard. We force a turnover. Voltman, edge the box, shoots. No, Voltman. Yeah, I know it's juvenile. Let me have my chant. On off the bench, he's come again. We pressed high there, forced a turnover, picked up the ball with a lot to do. 3 centre-backs stood off him, picked out the bottom corner, no nonsense. Okay, 87th minute, we've got our noses ahead. Part of me probably should have made it more defensive at this point, but you know what? Let's just stay with the 4-2-2-2. It's worked for us so far. We're on the attack again here. Voltman, he's got the hat-trick. Did that go through the keeper's legs? I think it did. AA launched this attack with a perfectly weighted pass into the wide area. Andy White moving out wide, created space inside, and Voltman slots it through the keeper's legs, gets his hat-trick. What a bloke. I feel like a lot of his goals have come in the cup games this year. Not quite as many as you might suspect in the league. He's got a hat-trick in this game when it mattered, and those goals have only gone and secured us their League 2 title. Bradford, well, for a moment they looked like they were going to be a nuisance and cause us a scare. We battled hard. And in the end, we've ended up winning here. We can enjoy our majestic 3D kits in all their glory, rocking our 3rd black and pink kit. And, well, speaking of black-pink, let's pop, let's rock, let's celebrate. We are the League 2 champions. It's been, well, written on the wall for a while, this, but it's fine and great to finally make it official. Look at that. The confetti rains down. I'm going to click off it soon, because otherwise, you know YouTube, when you hover over a video, it like shows you a preview of the video. The confetti sequence triggers whatever it is YouTube use to detect what happened in the video. Do you know the thing I'm on about? It always spoils the video, so I can't show the confetti for too long. If you go back now, having clicked on this video and mouse over it, might even show the confetti. You might have had spoilers and not even realised it. We managed to win, and despite Carlisle winning against Stockport 1-0, was not enough to delay the inevitable. Board are delighted with the League 2 win. Classy Voltman on form. Give him some praise. How many league goals has he got this year? Just 8. He's got 6 in cup competitions. I mean, he's got 3 there when it mattered the most. So like I said, with that result, we have now been crowned champions. We do have 6 games remaining of the year. Our season actually doesn't end for another month and a half. So plan of attack now. I'm going to go play those 6 games. I kind of want to rotate things. I also want to pursue the unbeaten season, so I'm not going to go as crazy as I did at the end of last year. Hopefully, we've got unbeaten when I return. And yeah, let's discuss the plan for next year. What we need to do, sort and improve with the squad going into League 1. Could we go unbeaten to end the season? No, we lost 3 of the last 6 games. I really do believe complacency is a thing in Football Manager. First game immediately after playing Bradford and securing the title. To be fair, maybe I'm the complacent one. I did decide to play Bob Davis, the young centre defensive mid, just to see how he might fare in the first team. And we lost. Yeah, not a good game, this one. And to be fair, the rest of the end of the season makes for depressing reading. Really, the only highlight game was one of the few games we didn't win, and we drew. It was this one against Notts County. 2-2. 2 sendings off in this game. We managed to get a penalty in the 81st minute and win. Well, a crucial point. I say it wasn't crucial at all. But we got a point with 9 men. I was kind of happy about that. Oh, well, remember that Notts County youngster we saw in the England youth team setup? I bought him. Yeah, £500,000 for James Burgess. Like the look of this guy, good potential, consistent. Maybe doesn't have the craziest high ceiling for potential, but for a player who's just turned 18, who was playing a decent amount of League 2 football, I feel like £500,000 is just like a good bit of business, really. It's a record transfer. Most teams at this level can't afford to spend that kind of money. Obviously, we can. I feel like he's a good depth option at centre defensive mid, and I need some players there for the coming year. Anyway, you can see after the Notts County game, defeats against York and Wimbledon away from home were annoying, but at that point, the unbeaten season was gone, so I wasn't too fussed. Now, you'll note it's the 2nd of May in-game. I've continued to add more and more staff, and in fact, we've got a new slot for a scout that I'm looking to fulfill at the moment. Yeah, definitely been a big focus through the kind of second half of this season on just improving the overall setup at the club. I mean, when I look at the coaching setup now, I'd love to get in a new goalkeeping coach, but with the exception of that, for a team going into League One, things are looking pretty rosy. And in fact, it's not just new staff that I've been signing and James Burgess that I've been signing. I've actually picked up some more youngsters. A lot of these academy rejects from the Premier League clubs. You know that email inbox item that I mentioned? You get it at the start of April. Clubs in England set to release youth players. Players like Charlie Davison here. No idea if he's ever going to be good enough for us, but as a freebie, happy to take a punt. A couple of other players as well. Pig and Howe here, maybe a right back for the future. At 18 years old, free transfer, say no more. Jamie Thornton, weird polygon, injury prone, inconsistent. My scouts think he has mad potential. Decided to take a punt on him. 2 other players to mention. Mark McCann, again, is just in free transfer. Youth players. They'll play in the under-21s. If they develop, I've signed them for free and I can make some money. The last player, though, bit different, because I think he might be good enough to play for us a little bit in the coming year. Carl Flood, Irish Youth International, was playing for Aston Villa. You can see he never made an appearance for their first team. They decided to release him, and I know he lacks when it comes to his overall pace, but actually 20 determination with 17 passing. Defensive midfielder, regista maybe? I feel like as a freebie, this could actually end up being a really good bit of business. For a League One team, I think he's probably capable of being a backup. In terms of his potential, there's question marks there, but the man's 18. It's a free transfer. I think this might be the best of the bunch. Anyway, with that all said and done, obviously those players I've signed mostly for the youth team. They don't really solve some first team problems that we'll look forward to in the transfer special next time. But to end the season, I thought we'd have a little look at the end of season wrap-up stuff, starting here with the expectations for next year. Top half League One finish, get the better of our rivals in Leyton Orient, and besides that, just a whole load of other sexy football possession, football attacking, football expectations, and of course, develop players using the club's youth system. Definitely want to keep that going. Could negotiate these slightly. I think a top half League One finish is probably on the cards, to be honest. I think our squad is quality. Kind of shown that this year. Next year, League One, where is top half finish? You just tell the players whatever it thinks that they should want. Green happy smiley faces across the board. That'll do me. I'll see you after the summer break, lads. Also, new assistant manager. Yeah, I mentioned new people coming in. Neil Critchley. I've had Neil Critchley as my assistant manager in so many save games, I feel like, in Football Manager. He's like a lower league goat of lower league assistant managers. He's very, very good. Despite our little choke to end the year, we did finish at the top of the table by 18 points. With that in mind, I'm looking at the step up, obviously, to League One, thinking we should be doing well. Last year, Wigan won League Two. They've actually finished 3rd in League One as a newly promoted team. So maybe trying to follow in their footsteps. I am now just mashing continue, trying to get the end of season pop-up bit to appear. I think it might not appear till after the playoffs. I have already started planning kind of a plan of attack for next year. I feel like the players currently selected are good enough for League One. I feel like we need a new striker, obviously. Andy White, not necessarily going to have him back on loan. In goal, Sharman Lowe just hasn't been good enough this year. Joe Rose is leaving at the end of the current season on a free transfer. Wasn't happy being backup. Yeah, he didn't want to sign a new deal. And at centre-back, despite how good Jesse Deborah has been, I am longing for a left-footed centre-back. I feel like Orr this year took a nice step up, actually had a quite solid end to the year. When you compare him on paper to Deborah, clearly like the superior option. So yeah, left centre-back, striker, goalkeeper, maybe a bit of depth at defensive midfielder, but in terms of the rest of the team, I'm pretty happy with this core of the squad right now. Continuing my quest to become a proper football club, we now have a technical director. Worth noting, my staff don't have to be English. Pedro joins us. There wasn't actually many technical directors out there. There's a few of the newer roles in Football Manager that don't actually have like very many staff that do those roles. You've probably noticed technical directors, sports scientists is another one. I like to have non-regen options when I can, and this bloke has a microphone in front of him, so I trust him. Yeah, in case you didn't know, talking into a microphone like this makes you a trustworthy person. Okay, the playoffs has concluded. I didn't actually see who won it. Should we check? Who won the playoffs? The answer, Crew, who finished 6th. I mean, fair play, they've absolutely mugged off Tranmere and York there, haven't they? In terms of our season review, star transfer this year apparently was Sharman Lowe. Don't agree with that in the slightest. Max Voltman, I think, was a great addition. So was Ashley Fletcher. To be fair, Matos and JB, probably the big 2 additions. I feel like they really did make a difference. Last couple of years, of course, we had Hume playing defensive midfielder, not the best defensive player. I feel like Matos and JB just work so well in that regard. And to be fair, Joe Taylor, I know he's kind of lived in the shadow of Andy White. 24 goals in all competitions, 19 in the league, for a man who never scored a goal in a league game before this year. Pretty good return. Despite that little choke to end the year where we did lose 3 of our last 6 games, still one of the best League 2 seasons I've ever had. I think that's a testament to the recruitment we did. Going into the season, I felt confident. Obviously, this season, I think we've only done 5 episodes of the actual league bit. I'm always conscious for you guys, the viewers. I want to keep things interesting. I want to keep things fresh. I could drag out a season by doing loads and loads of episodes, but when we have a year like the year we've had, I'd rather just focus on the key beats of the season and, you know, keep the series plodding on. I hope you guys appreciate that. I feel like I can't please everyone with the pacing of episodes, but I feel like this season it's kind of just made sense to do things the way we've done them. From a financial point of view, not really a surprise. A lot more money made this year, of course, with us going up into League One. That's probably going to increase even further. You can see here, 2,000 shirts sold. Joe Geldhart, despite being signed midway through the year, was our most sold shirt, which that is a bit surprising. Here is how we lined up for the year. No real complaints about how we're laid out here. I feel like the defensive mid ratings here, Ajari are playing well, Egbo, interesting to note, at left back over AA, then Matos and JB. Just whoever we had in these 4 positions in front of the back 3, I feel like they just stepped up and performed this year, really. I think that when you win a midfield battle with those kind of players, it's hard to lose. Ajaria won Fans Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season. Goal of the season went to Ethan Robson. Top goal scorer, Taylor. And yeah, Ajaria, 22 assists. Callum Hume set the most league appearances by a player with 122. Sad to say, not sure how useful our captain's going to be in League One. To be fair, he's still featured in 42 games this year. 22 as a starter, 20 on off the bench. When you look at his numbers, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be looking to replace him so quickly. We receive a fee of £500,000 for that result there, which is good, of course. As good as we've been, and as good as the money is, still a little bit paranoid about how much we're losing month on month due to our facilities. It's about £3 million we've spent this year, £3.2 million on the youth setup. I mean, we can probably survive 2 seasons with the current money. Not maybe as much pressure to sell players, but I mean, the reality is we have one man to thank for that, and it's a ridiculous sale that I still can't quite believe. I don't really want to be selling players as good as Andy White if I can avoid it. Speaking of which, can I loan him back? They think he should be tested in a different environment. The Andy White era might be over, everyone, and I'm sad. Anyway, with that all said and done, that concludes season number 3 here at Wanderers FC. As you've already seen from the blocked out lineup, I feel like there's some obvious places where I need to bring in some places for the coming year. I have already demoted some players down to the under-21s, players whose contracts, they're not willing to sign new contracts. In the case of Robson, he just wants out. I've not really used him that much as a depth centre defensive mid. Charlie Whittaker leaving on a free alongside Rose. I think probably the headline departures, but neither of them's been that reliable this year. Anyway, we'll talk more about those departures and potentially other departures next time out. Summer transfer window resumes next time. Hope you guys are excited for it. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow for more. I'm out.